Gabz FM, power to engage your world. It's Music of Joe with If I Was Your Man coming your way at 9:33 and getting us into this really interesting conversation. We are joined by Kana. You are a former Assistant Minister of Investment, right?
Former Assistant Minister of Trade
and Industry. Currently, you are President of Botswana Republican Party. He's joining us, but we're also joined by international business economist Tumelo Jr. Asele, and we're really just asking whether it was a bold move to empower citizens or reckless economic policy. This is a decision by the UDC government to turn the Chema Chema loans into grants. It's a conversation that we're getting into on the other side of this station.
Gabz FM. Power to engage your world. Power to engage your world is on 95.3 FM. The views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily of the station, its management, or its advertisers.
All right. Once again, let me take this time to welcome my guests, Biggie, Butale. Thank you so much for coming through. But I just want us to just get straight into it. Recently, President Dumaboko announced the cancellation of Chema Chema loans, effectively converting them into grants. This decision really, as we know, has sparked a lot of discussion, regarding its implications or economic implications for Botswana, and I think you're one of the people that say, this is a bad move on, the part of government. Let's just hear your thoughts really when you heard the announcement. What did you think?
Well, I thought it was reckless. Ghana, we are coming out of a back-to-back budget deficit. 23-24, we're looking at 25 billion. 24-25, we're looking at 22 billion. And we're in a deep hole, and then, somebody decides, well, okay, I'll get to this hole, 200 million. It's a good populist politics, good African politics, but very bad economics.
And from your side, Tumelo, what were your thoughts really when you had the president, speaking to the fact that they will be converting these loans to grants? What were you thinking?
Thank you so much for having me, and Biggie, Butale, as well as yourself and your listeners. You see, let me tell you something, Gaone. I remember we had a conversation about this when. Just a random conversation with some of my colleagues. Chema Chema grant. And one of the things that you should understand in making it a grant is that ideally the model of it is to empower the citizens. Because our discussion was, if it's not a grant, then what we are making is that we are making it unfair for someone who is in the street as a street vendor to find themselves having to pay back a loan that they themselves. The reason why banks don't give them loans is because it's actually not only hard for them to channel the money and to account for it, but at the same time, the model of business in the informal sector makes it hard for them to return the loan. I don't know how 23,000. Those are more in power of how they can manage that effectively. And I'm not despising the short courses that they took. See, this thing comes over time. And when that is not well done, and then we are saying, okay, fine, return back our money, which is the initial idea of it, then it becomes unfair. But at the same time, speaking of the contrast of business and politics, economics and politics, like we play Minister at that very point, they would then say, okay, fine, let us give you 200 million for free. Yeah. But then the question remains, okay, fine, if they are not supposed to ask it back because it's unfair for small businesses like that. And if they are not supposed to give it back, but at the same time, if they are going to grant it in a bad economic status, what then are we saying they should do? But we are saying whatever decision that they should take, they should consider that empowerment comes with impact. The question is, if we are saying 200 million, what cost does it bring? I mean, when we say let's wait a bit and see how the markets perform, or rechannel this money into something sustainable. Because my thought of it, even as it from the very get-go, I said Chema Chema is not a sustainable platform for business.
Yeah. All right, just hold it right there. I think later on I would want us to get into, for yourself as an economist, how do you have, addressed this particular thing? But let me just go back to Biggie Butale. You do say, the decision is reckless and purely populist, but let us break it down. The Chema Chema loans were initially designed to support small businesses and entrepreneurs. And I think as Tumelo is saying, Totala, we know these are people that Totala initially so many of Botswana have in the past struggled to repay the government, and some people say, turning them into grants actually empowers them to keep going rather than drowning them. This is how some people are looking at this whole thing. So let me ask you this: if you used to be part of the BDP, so I'm going to ask you this: the BDP was in power and seeing, the same repayment struggles from, with the different other programs. What alternative measures would you have taken to ensure that these businesses survive without obviously burdening them with loans that everybody knows that they can't simply repay, like what the example that Tumelo is making, because business and therefore it's going to be very hard for them to pay back. And maybe if I have to push it a little bit further, some people argue that previous government have used economic programs to benefit elites rather than the average in Botswana. Are you saying this this position is truly about economic sustainability, or is it about the fact that now the UDC is now shifting the balance of economic of power?
Emma, kana ha ka gakologelwa kana ka ga Tatuna Masire le go ntse go na le loan tsa NDB e re ha di topo di atumela begote go na le luba e be di cancel.
Yes,
kana di phimolo.
Yes.
Jaanong kore go mo go bola itshulelo gabedi ba tsona khantele ba tsa gore ha o tsa loan ha o thoka le re o iduele kore psyche ya teng e bola ya kgwebo e bola ya modern business transactions ka re ba itsure ha di topo di atumela kana after di topo sengwe sa phimola go mo go ira gore Botswana e seka ya nna le ha tshela la thwatwa kore it's another failed African state ga se la ntadi o tse di iragala go na go irwa ya le ko mahatsi a mangwe a ke sa bateng go bua maina a bona mme rona re le Batswana ne re batla go nna pharologano, right? Sa bobedi batho ba dikgwebo tse di potana ba kgone go bona madi ko di bankeng ke boammaruri lenano le la sida ne le siame gore ba kgone go bona madi ne ba sa hiwe bo 23,000 nna ba ine ke kopana le bona ne ba hiwa bo ma 5,000 ba bangwe bo 7 hela yalo ba thusa gore di mausu tsa bone le dikgwebo tsa bone tse di potana di ekopile 1% ne se tsidwetse kuto le re bane ba palwa ke go duela mme na ke bela la re ba bangwe bale ne ba itewa tsebe ke khanya gore ha re tsa puso ra phimola be ba bona gore go la re me pile re na me re sa duela ha ile gore ngwaga le tana le ha batho ba kgwebo tse di potana 200 million. It's an economic policy isiame minna se ke se itseng 200 million le ko a bohelo ke sone se hutsa hatsang go itse sengwe le sengwe gore ba boning a ke sola nkare ke le sego la bone kana ke ba sa bona 200 million ha ba ka ke ba thola ba mmona gape mabaka a mabedi gape se kgwama se kgwakgwa kana ga teng sa bobedi it's unsustainable. Kora kwa thola o haba ba to 200 million every year. Sa boraro re na le budget deficit. Kore ha gona po buang ka le hutile le kana le. Kana gatere puso e shotelwa ke 22,000 million pula.
Yes.
22,000 million pula. Kana 22,000 pula ke madi a mantsi gaone. Ya no akanya 22,000 million. O bo mo oketsa ka 200 million. Ke go thoka boikarabelo mo go ha kgamatsang. Ba ba hilo in 200 million ke tsore bone ba tara go siame hela. Ba re sa hiwa mbone.
So what are you saying? Is it can you give me stake wa ha go romente gore irile at the time go buletswe batho bo ba ba le skeptical go ba tshwanang le lona ba ne le sa go tsa madi anong ka gore romente o decided gore ke grant ya no wa going to say what about those who did not get it? What are you saying? I don't understand.
When ha 200 million pulo a hiwa batho a hiwa gaona hiwa mokaolengwe hano ebe ba busa le nna ke a adima kere ebe ke a busa ebe John halele na adima akere it is fair for all of us but ha ho twe 200 million ikio gaone tsa mo ska busa ibile ke la bohelo re le ha 200 million that is unfair. Rautwan ke tsore o mongotare nya gongwe go tana ma ha ka ke ga nna le 200 million pulo mongwe ka gore re kolota 22,000 million pula ha re ka tswela re ira yana ke go bolela gaone ra go tshwana le mahatsi a tshwana le bo Zambia di tuelo tsa ba bereki di diega khantile di seo.
As someone who's been in power before, how come I've never really just heard you speak actively like you are right now about these things? And I love the fact that you actually mentioned earlier on this is something that has happened before, where we saw people batsadi loan go NDB kwa, and then kana kwa na kwa ya luhuma ya ka no bua kana kwa ya the late Masire ga bo go cancel. How come you have not quite actively spoken against such? Because we're talking about Sekhwama sa government, as economists have said, has been declining since 2008.
Kana re Masire na ira yalo ka bo in the 80s ke sense ke le ko secondary. Me ga ke kare that is bad economics. Go bola economy ya lehatse go bola the business side ya lehatse kore the madua go ira yalo a bo thoko mo eleng gore it's beyond comprehension.
What I'm saying is kana sekoloto ke sekoloto, and if you want us to take you seriously,
onora re nkwe ke buile ka 1984
you're saying if we are going to continue with this, right, and ra dumelana gore madi a government hela, shouldn't you be advocating for gore nya me kana go tswa go rutang ko teng go ntse go tla go ntsana mme go me ke go montse go sa siamana? It's almost like you are just attacking the Chema Chema and of course this decision by the UDC.
le kgato ene tsa ke re Masira ke dumala le yone me ke ka bo 1984 in essence ke le monana me ke a gakologelwa going forward. Fortunately, to go ka thola go na le 200 million pulo hiwa batho ka re ga yo madi ao ra utsana gaone. It's not possible to do that. Me nna ke a belela gore ha ne go kgonagala ne re ta bona bothodi bo tswellang.
All right, let me bring back into the conversation at Tumelo. Tumelo, let's talk about, I know you quite touched on, economic implications, but I think from, an economist's perspective, what are the short-term and, of course, the long-term economic impacts of converting loans into grants on Botswana's economy, at least now?
All right. I want to... This discussion is in twofold. You talk a former minister, where it's from the macroeconomic aspect of it, from a perspective of a government and an economist, I guess, a macroeconomist. But let me take it from the perspective of an ordinary Botswana who terrain loan about the Let me tell you this. We can the people yaga tonare baduetse kana batho ba baduetseng ke batho ba ileng gore ba ne ba netse ma 500 pula. And you remember gore there were promises of money, But when people actually applied for the money, not the street vendors I met, are people who were angry and are people who deliberately decided they were not going to take that because now Botswana, I get to have tafole a memo station. I go to like for let's say 500 pula. I go to like for let's say 1.5. Wonga benki mu di relate that day. It doesn't make sense. If I go to give you my day our back, which is different from a sustainability model. But we don't need yet another cedar because cedar is there. We don't need yet another layer because the layer is there. But probably what we may need is a targeted approach, particularly to small businesses operating as well as those operating in the informal sector. That is what we need because those are people that are able to generate income on a daily. Those are people who are able to drive the economy. Sustainability. But what I'm saying is, let us also consider it this way. At this point, those who actually got the loan and got significant amount thereof, or have applied for these grants, and about significant or they knew it was going to transform business. What was the retaining of the money could be a sustainability plan, but at the same time, we have another ways of getting that sustainability because if this business profit, reinvested into the business, then we are saying we qualify you for better tax. We qualify you for employment creation opportunities for other people because then the business is growing. And then we are saying we are much more sustainable that way than
I'm going to, it's just gone 9:50. Pause right there, Tumelo. We'll continue with this conversation on the other side. We're getting people calling in and, of course, some messages coming in. We're also live on our Facebook page. In case you're listening in and you want to be part of the conversation, you can just easily call us at +267 395 6962. You can send us a WhatsApp text or a WhatsApp audio. Same number, +267 395 6962.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily of the station, its management, or its advertisers.
All right, welcome back. I want to ask you this before we go to some of messages that are coming in. You know, the response that we get from people quite a lot often is that, you know, the past government's economic mismanagement over decades, you know, but I just want to hear your response regarding that to people who are saying, you know, the BDP's economic mismanagement over decades is what made programs like Chema Chema necessary in the first place. So I just want to, you know, hear your thoughts regarding that. Was Chema Chema necessary in the first place?
The economist really, but ba di kgwebo tse di potlana ba kgone go bona di loan ko di banke, and I think it was a way ya gore ba kgone gore ba ithuse ka yone. Mme kana gape ka ne ba ya ma 500 ma 5000 ma 2000 mo le gore bontsi ba bone ba palwa ke go ira sepe ka one. Nna ne ke ka ntse gore go ngane ba hilwe madi a botoka be go hukudwa dipalo kore idea ya Chema Chema le gore re he mongwe le mo 500 and then mongwe le mongwe wa ba gore top. I don't think no le gona le mogopolo wa empowerment mo teng me ha ne le gore ke go empowera batho ba dikgwebo tse di kotase. So you
think it was not done in good faith?
No, it wasn't done in good faith. In hire as many people as possible, 500 pula. Top in my mind.
All right. You want to conclude before people are calling in?
Emma, my dear, it's a write-off. Rebel was one of my mentors. There is no such thing as a write-off. Somebody is going to pay for that 200 million.
But there was a write-off in the 80s, like you said earlier.
Somebody paid for it. Kore madi ha nyelle.
One way or the other.
One way or the other, somebody.
Like the taxi, and so on and so forth. All right. Let's go here. Gabz FM, you're live. Good morning. Hi.
Hello. Kana kwa fantsale mo nnyane kana kwa fantsale mo puso ga isa kwa o phosi selo seo mananeo a nantsa le teng mananeo a na a fengile batho ba sa tsamaya gompieno gape madi jaanong a cancel ka lebaka la gore ga go kwa go simolola business ka 2000 wena no batla 20,000 wa go breaka even jang o sa khone hela go bona yona threshold o ka khona go breaka even ka yona so is a little bit, I'm sorry to use the word disingenuous about Zilotse. He doesn't have a plan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, here's a message that says the former minister and his government never had initiatives for job creation. Example, use existing sports structures to create employment for youth. All right, and then here's another one that says Kanami and Butale would be cascading the UDC if they did not make it in a grant, saying they're failing on the 2024 promises, politicians, all right? And then this one says, majority of people complaining about Chema Chema cancellation are the same people who owe Madi DTF. I congratulate government for fulfilling its election promise, all right? And then here's another one that says, ask Butale, what makes him think that the 200 million was all going to be returned at the stipulated time for others to borrow it? Come on, guys. Can we be realistic and stop being beat up and just being negative? And I think it's one of the, the opinions that the economists in that nature, the informal sector. That's why the program mo di bankeng so we don't know now, we're assuming or maybe even the BDP government is going to cancel this.
This country is ours, rote. But baba ring beta ho cancel ho ring. Countries have done it before. I know this is the kind of policies we are going to. It's not a mystery. It's not. Ale cancel the loan. Le gets old age pension. Mili kuluta 22,000 million. How on it? Mark my words. Tsela ya teng engwe hela ke milong se sane ra itse re ya go yela ko kae and batho ba re Butale beta hey I'm being disingenuous like rata la tsela la ga etso ga ona uka and I know my message is going to be unpopular gore Butale gana re phimolelwa dikoloto mme Butale o rutile ke bona Botswana ba ko skweleng. I've studied politics. And it's not going to be nice.
Gabz FM, you're live. Good morning. Hi.
Hey, good morning.
Right, so you're live on air.
Nene krekare kana former minister o tholetse mo domkraga wa bona ya no ka domkraga go thusa batho ba dikubo dikhutshwane ke molato ga go dirwe ya that is why I want to ke sengwe se se busula. You are
going to bankrupt this country. You are going to bankrupt this country, and after the bankrupt
You said something. You said we must mark your words, and I want you to, before we conclude this conversation, I mean, your track record versus UDC's actions. Under your leadership as, assistant minister, what policies did you personally, would have wanted the BDP government to implement to boost small businesses? Maybe if you had a better approach, because clearly this one wasn't going to work.
Yeah. South Africa. It's one of the initiatives that I came up with. right? Le gore di cell phone company di ska ga tsa hiwa batswakwa. Le gore re ska ra reka di tilo le malao go tswa ko Africa Borwa. Totally on a vegetable ban. In a simulate around that time gore batho ba di kgwebo tse di kotase ba kgone gore ba phomelle. Me anong some of these things are being reversed. And the minister tsa ko South Africa ba itumela ba re gormento wa Botswana o siame o thusa balemi ba Africa Borwa. Fine. The best thing to do ke gore ke re gormento mosha a re supporte me hela, like I said, this thing we know gore ya go hela kae ga.
All right, let's go to this voice note here.
Good morning.
Morning.
The former minister seems to be talking the CEDA type model with this Chema Chema thing. But CEDA is also having its own problems. How is its collection rate going? What is the default rate? And mind you, these were people who were given adequate money to do what they set out to do. Chema Chema, on the other hand, they were given fractions of what they wanted to do to improve their businesses. And like he says, it was more to get votes from as many voters as possible. So it was done in bad faith. And it's going to be a nightmare to try and collect 500, 3,000. It will be throwing good money after the bad. So in fact, taking this decision will save the government some money.
All right.
That's my view.
Thank you so much for that. Gabz FM, you're live. Good morning. Hi. Gabz FM. Hi, sir. You're live on it. I think there's something wrong with your line. It's really bad. I don't know if
it's really bad.
We can hear you now.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Re Butale o bua dio tse ileng gore nna ke ntse ke nna ke di bua mo radio station yone tsa bo Chema Chema tsa bo horticulture and all that. Me ka go ntse ka te batho ba fila gore ba re di thareno metsi go rileng ile ba sa tleka di argument ya le tse ileng gore di sounde re ka di ba mo tafuleng ra di test economically. Ya no nna re Butale ke rata gore hala ke gore akere a re tsweleleng re boleleng Batswana ba maruri go bang ba tla lemoga gore banna ba sa le bantse ba re bolela gore a go ela ka le mena ka gore gore yang teng ha o lebeletse ra go ela ka mo.
Thank you so much. Here's a message that says, good day. It's a good move. Does Mr. Butale know, you said also give such grants to communities around the world. All right. And then this one says, La Renga di Loan, it's a financial assistance policy, FAP. It's a BDP cabinet and MPs and cancel them back then unless Rebutale elele 2000 anasoko BDP.
That was bad economics.
Yeah, you've always been
I never agreed with this
against that. And then this one says why bikisantla Santla itse gore re ne re hiwa 1/4 ya seneng re sekopela madi. Obviously the project kopelang failed even before as Simon Laboko alemoga. Hey, I don't quite get this. Yeah,
I never hear 25% of what they were asked.
Oh yeah.
So project in the which this was just a gimmick to buy votes. Hey.
So inile tipa ya magale ya two sides, because if the BDP was, as you're saying, was doing this to buy votes, it didn't work for them. It worked for the other guys because they said, okay, go and get the money, and then we'll write.
We want our country to be a going concern.
No, I hear you very well.
And motho ba tadi top kore o mongwe ke o ba tadi top a re ke tla le ha ma 500 o mongwe ba re ke ta cancela. both of these people keep bad.
Wrong.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Hey.
That's what you're saying. Thank you so much.
We can't congratulate Bomabutu Sesekoism mo Botswana. And like I said, if we continue along this road, Rahoela in one spot, hell, there are no two ways about it.
Yeah. All right, let's take last caller here. Gabz FM, you're live. Good morning. Hi.
Hi.
Raisu.
Why you get Ramon from Mamuchi born? Why you have about reading a Gagakan today at Chema Chema Gaore to Dandagari, I go hell, Gaur Botswana to top. Very rich country. And then Haragun, ya minister, 8,000 times 12. It was 96,000. How work at 96,000 times 5 years ago, 480,000. One and try half a meal.
Oh, you're talking about something else. All right, thank you so much.
Dog allowance.
Dog allowance. Oh, by the way, how much was dog allowance during your time?
We should dog allowance is similar to Kima UDC. Bara re dog allowance.
So there's no such thing?
No, there's no such thing. Me anung, no one ever dog allowance.
How many allowances does the minister have?
A minister hela. Ona le meti. Le motakase. I think that's it. But obviously, sitting allowance kia minister le parliament.
But we've heard of entertainment allowances, and so are you saying
there's no such thing? I don't know unless you know what it's like a.
Okay.
Dog allowance, entertainment allowance.
Okay, I have to let you guys go. Let me go back to Reatil. I think Rukile, on your side, I think you quite also agree with Butale. This is bad economics, but you've balanced it. Totally, it goes both ways. Let's talk about your recommendations going forward, so that what Butale is saying, if we continue with this path. How do you, what are your recommendations, going forward? All right,
thank you so much, Gaone. One thing we should know is that there are different types of politics. Usually when we talk politics alongside economics, we are talking policy politics, development politics. So what we are seeing here, it is election politics. It's a narrative control measure, and it's bad. It's bad for economics. But what they should do, it is one thing that I think the government should make sure they focus on: building sustainability in the informal and small medium enterprise sector. I'm saying this because there was a study that was made a few years ago. Businesses in Botswana are not growing, are failing to grow. These are small startup businesses that are failing to grow because of lack of access to finance. Our motto apply idea go cedar. They are from the streets that actually afford to get a consultant to do that for them. How many of them has a wide business understanding of what is truly happening? But these are people who know the streets. They know how the market works. They know. So there is that gap between what I know and do on a daily, as well as the requirements somewhere. So we need a proper incubation plan of those who are in the small and medium enterprise sector, as well as in the informal sector. And we also need to make sure that it is targeted. It's unfair for them because that they could have done for the whole week, because these are people who have real lives to live and real finances and bills to pay. That's why I'm saying targeted approach to it, and then make sure it is sustainable in our financing model. We need a proper financing model that focuses that targets a small medium enterprises as well as the informal sector. Not only are we saying it's bad economics. No, it was bad economics from both sides. Maybe I don't even think if the BDP was here, they were still going to pay back that money. I did not see it happening.
Right.
But what we need to do is sustainability to it, so that we secure development, we secure employment creation, and so that we grow informal and small medium enterprises from informal and small medium enterprises to large corporates that have possibility, opportunity to
Right.
do. Like here, case study over
Okay.
here.
All
Imagine about Mebo Teobarekisam ko ranking, baga ikopanya. Wouldn't they open a very big warehouse that goes into the retail warehouse model that is targeted to what their requirements are, because they're the only ones who know what they truly need.
All right. Thank you so much, Tumelo Asele. He's an economist, international business economist. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and, of course, for your insights. We don't have much time. I wish we had an hour at least, but we only literally had 25 minutes for this conversation. Now, let me come back to you, Butale, before I let you go. Your last words, really, to this. I think we've quite heard you. Either way, whether it was the BDP or UDC, this was just bad move in the first place. But your last words.
Emma, na ke dumela gore ya ka re kwa le mo manifesting wa rona. Gore ba rote re khone gore re tsoletsega ke gore itsholelo wa Botswana e ye go godimo. Sa bobedi, ke ntse ke uta motsata o tona go tuile go Dubai wa go kopa batho ba Dubai gore ba tekwano. Why should they come here? Why? Kore rona ke rona who should pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Re ska ra ka ya gore Father Christmas o ta tswa kae ata gore thusa unemployment ata gore thusa eng. Banna ba le ha ba ke bata kwano. Ha ene le gore ba bata go tsa kwano ko e ba sa bolo go tsa kwano. Gape Botswana ga se the richest country mo Africa. There are other places where you can put your money and
But
get.
it's all about relationships, Butale. I mean,
with 2 million people and you're putting your money in here to build a city, it's pie in the sky.
It's all about relationships. If they have a good relationship with those people, then it can happen. Come on.
Money is not about friendship. Money is about profit. Bottom line, full stop. Are rona re tirele mo ga rona. Ba bangwe ba te go oketsa se ba ithela re se tshwere. And naki we can grow our economy, re risa our uranium, re risa our coal, re risa our land resources for agriculture, right? And nobody wants to listen to that. And it's so frustrating. After 20 years,
All right. Thank you so much, Butale, for coming through. We heard you. I guess we'll be following you, going forward, and we're taking your words. We're noting them down. In 5 years, Butale, this is what he said.
100%. I'm okay. Mo profit. Na go na go batla go na bantaro no bua nnete ka se mama no bua me a no ke le santopi.
Kimba sa go tlhopeka.
Ai ke go tena ke wa ke supanya la be ba nkganetse khantela ba re.
Where do you think you went wrong?
There are two issues. I think Lanta we came a bit late. But also I think those elections were manufactured.
Which ones?
There was a lot of lapalapa.
Why do you say that?
Why?
You're saying...
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
You remember Riley Akusuroe in 4,000 people? Yarona. Every to pick what 800. But those 4,000 people never say Quadisa. But the hell? So are
you saying the UDC rigged?
No, the UDC didn't rig. Who I think rigged.
Who rigged?
Yeah, I think it's too powerful. I can't say it here.
So what's the point?
It's the organization. That organization, huge organization, huge multinational.
You've got nothing to lose. Just say.
I've told you.
So we don't know.
My brother
this is why people are not voting for you. How boo? Just spill the beans, Butale.
You think I'm that naive?
Meet Morning Delight. Monday to Friday, 9 to 12 noon. With Gaone on Gabz FM.